Hey guys, what's up? Welcome back to the channel again. In this video, we are going to install Void Linux. This is something that has been requested a lot on the channel. So in this video, I'm going to install Void Linux following the traditional installer, not the root method. I'm going to do this eventually in another video. So without further ado, let's get going. So here we go, guys. This is the homepage for Void Linux. Many of you asked me if I could have a look at this distribution, and so here I am. And as you can see here on the website, it says Void is a general purpose operating system based on the monolithic Linux kernel as any other Linux distribution. And it has its own packaging system, which is called XBPS. Now, the interesting thing about Void is that it's using runit as the init system. So what is runit? Well, let's check this on the Wikipedia here. Runit is the init system for Unix-like operating system that initializes, supervises, and end processes throughout the operating system. So basically it's as much as OpenRC or systemd, but in a different way. And runit is a reimplementation of the daemon tools process supervision toolkit that runs on many Linux distributions, as well as macOS, BSD, and Solaris operating systems. So this is actually the init system that we find also on Mac OS. So let's go back here to the Void homepage. And as you can see here, it says Void is a stable rolling release. Okay, what does it mean? Well, it says here Void focuses on stability rather than on being bleeding edge. So install once, update routinely and safely. So it's not really a rolling release, it's more geared towards stability. So you will not be probably having as many updates as you have on Arch Linux, for example. The package manager is the XBPS, which we're going to see when we are installing the distribution. I encourage you here to explore the website. There are many things that we can see here, especially here in the news. You can read through the blog posts, and the team in Void Linux has been going through some changes this year. If you read the blog post here from April 2020, so if you are interested to know more about this, you can go here and read this blog post to learn more about what happened. So let's go ahead here and download what we need to install Void Linux. Let's go to downloads here. And as you can see, we have here download installable base live images for x86. This is what we need. And we have actually the choice to download some live images with these desktop environments. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to install actually the normal live image without desktop environment. So to choose one of these or the current live ISO, we can go here to this link. And then we can choose from the list the ISO we want to download. So you most probably want to download one of these, which has the x86-64 connotation. In my case, though, I'm going to download the x86-64 without desktop environment. So once you click this, you will download the ISO and you can burn it to a stick and you boot your computer from there, or you can mount the stick in a virtual machine and try out Void Linux there, as I will do also in this video. I already prepared the virtual machine, so let me pull over to the virtual machine itself here. And this is the grab bootloader. So let's go ahead here. And because on KVM, I have always to do this small trick here. I need to edit the line by hitting E and go down here to the Linux line. And I will enter here video equal 1920 per 1080 so that it recognizes my screen. And then I can hit Ctrl X to start the installation. Now with this ISO, Void Linux actually will be installed via a text user interface. And there you can see it starts up fairly quickly. So we need to log in with the root username and the password is Void Linux and hit enter. And we can start the installer by typing in void-installer and hit enter. So this is the text interface where we can install Void Linux. So let's go ahead and do this. So we have here the welcome screen. We can just hit enter here. And first step, let's select the keyboard. So I'm just going to hit OK and select the keyboard I have, which is not a US keyboard, as you probably already know. So I'm going to go down here until I find the one I have, which is this one. This is the Swiss German keyboard. And then I can hit OK. Set up the network. So let's hit OK here. And I have only one interface here, which is the Ethernet interface. If you have Wi-Fi, you will see it here in the list. So I just need to hit OK here. And it asks me if I want to use the HCP, and I will say yes. And the network is working properly. If you have Wi-Fi, you will be able to set up your Wi-Fi card from here. Next, set the source installation. So let's hit OK. And we have two choices here, local, so packages from the ISO, or network. Well, I want to go for the network because I want to download some extra packages which are probably not in the ISO. And then I can hit OK. Now we need to set the host name. So let's hit OK here. I'll call my machine void. You can choose, of course, the name you want. And then we can set the locale. So let's hit OK here. And I'm looking for English US as usual. So let me see, where is that? It should be down here. There you go. And hit OK. And now we can select our time zone. So let's hit OK again. And I'll select mine, which is in Europe. And I'll scroll down here to Zurich. And there you go. Now we can set our root password. So far, the process is really easy. And retype the password. And there you go. Now set the primary username and password. So we can basically create an account here. Enter a primary login name. So I'll enter here my name. Enter a username for the login hermano while I use again my name. And the password is again the password of choice. And now we can select the group membership for this user. This is nice actually. And I see already I have the wheel group selected, which is going to give me sudo privileges. We have the floppy group, audio, video, and what else? Optical, CD-ROM. Well, actually the default looks good. So I'm just going to accept this for now. So I'm just going to hit OK. And now set this to install the bootloader. So we need to select on which disk. Well, I have only one disk here. So I'm just going to select this one here and hit OK. And use a graphical terminal for the bootloader. I will say yes. And now we can partition our disk. So let's go ahead and hit OK here. And let's hit OK. This is the only disk I have. And it says here CF disk will be used for partitioning the disk. So let's hit OK here. And the first thing we are asked is to select the label type. Now, this is going to depend from the type of computer you have. So you can basically choose GPT if you have an UEFI system. You can choose DOS if you have a legacy system. You can actually also choose GPT if you have a legacy system, but then you will be forced to create a BIOS boot partition. In my case, this is a UEFI system, so I need to create an EFI partition and at least a root partition. So that's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to hit enter here. And I'm going to create the first partition, so I'm just going to hit new. And for the EFI partition, I'm going to select maybe 250 megabytes. So I'll type in plus 250 M and hit enter. I'll go to type here because I need to tell the system this is a EFI partition, which is the first one on the list here, EFI system. And then we can move down to free space and hit new. And the root partition is going to take the rest of the disk. So this is going to be fine. I'm just going to hit enter here. And Linux file system is fine, so I can accept this. And I'll go to write. And I'll type in yes to accept the changes. And you can see there it says the partition table has been altered. So this is done. We can go to quit. And now we can configure our file systems and the mount points. So let's go ahead and do that. So move up and down to select the partition you want to use. So I'm going to accept the first one here. I'm going to choose the EFI partition. So I'm just going to hit change. And because it's an EFI partition, I need to format it with a FAT file system, which is this one right here. And the mount point for this partition will be /boot/EFI in my case, and hit enter. Do you want to create a new file system? Yes. And that's done. Now let's go to the root partition here and hit change. Now we can select the file system we want to give to the root partition. I'm going to go standard here. I'm going to choose ext4 and hit OK. And the mount point is going to be the / for indicating the root directory and hit OK. And I want to create a file system. Yes. And as you can see now, I have the two partitions. Now, I could have also created actually a swap partition. Maybe that would have been also a good idea, but I can create actually a swap file later also in the installation if I need to do that, and then put it also in the fstab file. So for now, I'm done, and I can go to done and hit enter. And the file system is now completed. So now we can go to install and start the installation with the saved settings. So let's hit OK here. And it gives me a warning that all data on the partition will be destroyed, which is fine with me. So I'm just going to hit yes. And now it's going to install the system. So this is going to take some time, and I'll be back with you when it's done. So the installation is here done, so we can hit OK. And the installation is now finished, and we can now hit yes to reboot our system. So let me do this very quickly. And the system is going to reboot in a second. There you go. So here we have our grub bootloader, void GNU Linux. And let me actually again change the video resolution here. I will do after in grub, I will change the line definitely. But I can enter here now video equal 1920 per 1080 and hit Ctrl X to start the system. It's going to take a moment to do that because the runit init system is fairly fast at booting up. There you go. So I will enter the root user because I need to still configure the system and my password. And there you go. So by default, we are logged in here into the shell. This is not bash, this is the shell. And if I type in here which $shell and hit enter, you will see this is the original shell. However, we have also bash available. We just need to type in here bash and hit enter, and we are using now our bash shell. Now, this is the basic installation of Void Linux. Okay, what can we do here? What can we install? Well, let's have a look again at the manual. So let's go back to our website, and let me go back one page here. And I want to go to the documentation. So in the documentation here, you find every information about the system and how to configure it. So of course, I will not go through all of it because it's much too long and much too much information. But I read through a lot of these pages and they are all very simple to understand and also very simple to implement as well. Now, what I'm going to do in this video, I just want to explore actually how easy it is to install a desktop environment and hit the ground running, basically. So what I want to know here is how to install actually a desktop environment or a window manager and how to enable the services I need. So let's go ahead and search this. I see here, for example, we have some graphical sessions, and under here we have Xwork, we have Wayland, fonts, icons, GNOME, and KDE. Okay, so if I click here on GNOME, for example, it's telling me to install the GNOME package for the GNOME environment, which includes the base GNOME desktop and a subset of GNOME applications, and so on. Okay, this seems to be fairly simple. I want to install actually a window manager. In this case, I want to install i3, and I'm going to do this in a second. But first, I need to know how I can actually enable and disable the services. So let me go actually here where it says services and daemons. And I'll make it simple here. What we need to find out is how to enable services with runit. I did a video actually on runit that was actually on Artix. And of course, the runit init system works the same way here. So what we can do here, we have the basic usage. We can check actually if services are up and running. And we can also enable services by using some symbolic links. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go back here to the virtual machine. And I want to install actually my desktop environment. So one thing that we need to take care of course, is also our graphic drivers. Now, if I go back shortly here to the website again, and let me go here where it's writing about NVIDIA or Intel or AMD cards, we have here explanations on how we can install several drivers for those cards. So for example, for AMD, you have Linux firmware AMD. You have also for Intel cards something else, which is down here, which is the Linux firmware Intel. And then we have also some drivers for NVIDIA. Here we have several choices. We have the Nuvo, which is the open source driver, which you can install by installing the XF86 Video Nuvo driver or the Mesa DRI driver. Now, the Nuvo driver is a reverse engineer, so the performance there is not that fantastic. You can install also the NVIDIA proprietary drivers. Those are available in the non-free repository. And to install them, you can follow the instructions here if you have an NVIDIA card. Now, I don't have an NVIDIA card or any other card by that matter because I am on a virtual machine here. So let me go actually back to my virtual machine and install the packages I need to install i3. So I want to install the display server, Xorg. I want to install a display manager and the i3 window manager, very simply. How do we install packages here in Void? Well, you remember we saw before on the website, they have a special package manager which is called XBPS. So the XBPS package manager comes with several variations for installing, removing, or updating packages. In this instance, I want to install packages, so I will type in XBPS-install, very simply. So the first package I'm going to install is Xorg. The next one is the display manager, which is lightdm. And I'm going to install also the greeter because it's required. So I'm going to type in lightdm -gtk-greeter. And I'm going to install also i3 and also i3 status. And I'm going to install also a terminal. Now, normally I would install probably termite here, but I want to have a terminal for this video, which I can configure easily graphically. So I'm going to install Terminator. And I'm going to install also a browser, in my case, Firefox. And I need to install also the dbus package. And then I can hit enter. So this is going to take a moment to download. So let's hit enter here. So it's taking a moment now to download and install. I'll be back with you in a second. So there you go, the installation is now done. So let's clean up the terminal here and enable the services we need. So remember, this is actually running the runit init system, so we need to enable services accordingly. Now the first service I want to enable is the dbus, and to do this I will type in ln-s and then /etc/sv/dbus, and we're going to mount this under /var/service. And this is going to basically enable the system and start it also automatically. So let's do this. Now, next, I want to actually also start LightDM because it's the display manager. But before I do that, let me actually edit one setting in the lightdm.com file because of my virtual machine display resolution here. So to do this, actually, let me install also Vim because it's not installed by default. And I could install actually any other editor, but I'm used to work with Vim. So let me do this by typing in xbps-install and then Vim and hit enter. This is going to take a second to download and install. There you go. So now we can type in vim/etc/lightdm and then lightdm.conf. And I need to go down here to the seed group, which is somewhere down here. There you go. And I want to change the display setup script. And I'm going to change this line here and I'm going to enter xrender and then --output. Then virtual-1. Probably you can skip this step because your resolution will work fine, but in the virtual machine I'm using, it's not. So I need to type in these options here. Then --mode 1920 per 1080. And there you go. Then I can save this file and exit Vim. And I can also now enable LightDM. So to do this, I use the same process I did for dbus. So I type in ln-s and then /etc/sv/lightdm. And we're going to link this to /var/service and hit enter. If everything goes well, we will see LightDM in a second here. And you can see we have LightDM. Now this looks a little bit different than we are used to see LightDM, and that's because actually I installed the wrong greeter, but I'm going to change this in a second. Let me type in the password here and hit enter. And here we have our i3. So let's generate the configuration file, accept the mod key, and we have i3 available. Now let's hit mod enter. And we see Terminator is working also fine. So let me configure this again very quickly. And I'll go under profiles here. I'm going to hide the title bar. And for the font here, I'm going to choose something else. I'm going to choose, for example, monospace. And I'm going to choose monospace regular here. And I'm going to bump up the size to 16. And the last thing I'm going to do here, I'm going to go to scrolling. And I'm going to disable the scroll bar and then click close. So I installed the wrong greeter. How can we change this? Well, again, we use the xbps package manager to remove the GTK greeter and install the right one. So in Void, there is actually another greeter, which is called GTK3 greeter, which is the one we need to install. So let's remove first the one we installed before. So let's type in sudo xbps-remove and then lightdm-gtk-greeter and hit enter. We need to enter our sudo password and accept the removal. There you go. And now we can install the correct one by typing in sudo xbps-install and then lightdm-gtk3-greeter and hit enter. And accept the defaults here and the package is installed. Now I need to change again one option in the configuration file for LightDM. So I'll type in sudo vim/etc/lightdm and then lightdm.conf and hit enter. And I'm going to go here to the greeter session and I'm going to uncomment this line here by deleting the hashtag. And instead of example GTK, I'm going to type in here lightdm-gtk3-greeter and delete this line here. There you go. So let's save this file and exit Vim. And let's exit once i3 by hitting Mod Shift E and click yes. And we have here the standard GTK greeter that we are used to see. So we need to first configure it with the background and everything else, but now it's working fine. So let's type in our password. And there you go, we are back in i3. So let's go ahead and install something here in i3 and see how it works. So let's open up the terminal. And I notice now that I forgot to install the menu for our launcher. So let's type in sudo xbps-install dmenu and hit enter. Accept the installation. There you go. We need to reload the configuration file by hitting Mod Shift C. And if we hit now Mod D, we have the menu opening up on the top. So what I'm going to do now, I'm going to first also install nitrogen for our wallpaper. So let's pull up the last command here and replace the menu with nitrogen and accept the installation here. It's going to take a second to install. There you go. And now let's open up Firefox, which I installed previously. And I'll move it to the second workspace by hitting Mod Shift 2. And let's search for something here. I'm going to search for Japan wallpapers. You know me, I love this country and I love the wallpapers from this country. So I'm going to switch to English here and I'm just going to choose a random wallpaper here. I'm going to choose this one. There you go. And I'm going to select here the resolution, which is this one right here. And I'm going to save the file. There you go. And now I can close Firefox and hit close tabs. And now let me open up nitrogen and go to preferences, add a directory here. I'll choose the downloads directory and click OK. This is my wallpaper and I will choose here zoom fill and click apply. Now we can close this and we have our wallpaper. So let's go back to the first workspace and close the terminal and we should have our wallpaper there as well. So we have our wallpaper there. Now, how can we put this into the configuration file for i3 here in void? So let's open up again the terminal and type in vim.config i3 and then config. This is the standard configuration file directory of the configuration file for i3. And I'm going to move to the end of the file here with Control End. And I'm going to enter here a couple of commands. So I'm going to go at the end of the file here with Control End, and I'm going to enter some new lines here. So the first one is going to be for the resolution. So I'm going to put a comment here, and the command to execute is going to be exec xrender -- output virtual -1 and -- mode 1920 per 1080. There you go. The next one is going to be for my keyboard because I don't have a US keyboard. So I'm going to type in here keyboard. And the command to execute is going to be exec set xkb map and then ch. And I'm going to put this in the background. And the last one I'm going to use is the nitrogen wallpaper. And the command to execute is exec nitrogen -- restore. And I'm going to put this also in the background. And we can save the file and exit Vim. And we can exit once i3 and go back with our password. And we have our wallpaper there. We can open up the terminal and my keyboard is working fine. So everything is done. So as you can see, actually installing i3 from Void takes literally a couple of minutes, not more. It's very simple. The package manager is very simple to use. It's very fast. The system also performs really well in terms of startups and shutdown times. I tried this actually also on a laptop and the boot times and shutdown times are really fast. This is also a benefit to the runit init system. Now, let me go back shortly again to the website. And let's scroll up at the top of the page here and go to packages. Now, this is a very handy page if you're looking for packages here in Void. You can basically search for the architecture and for the package you're looking for. So for example, let's type in theme and hit enter. So you can see we have something coming up here with themes. So arc theme, arc icon theme, and so on. These are the name of the packages you can then install in your system. So for example, let's go back here to our i3 and let's install, for example, by sudo xbps-install. I'm going to install pcman-fm. So the file manager pcman and hit enter. And accept the installation here. There you go. And I'm going to install actually also some other packages. Let me install also LX Appearance and some themes. So let's go back to our page here. Let's see what kind of theme we can actually install. So I'm going to install the Arc theme and the Arc icon theme. So let's go back to our virtual machine. I'm going to type in arc-theme and arc-icon-theme and hit enter. There you go. It's going to take a second to install and it's done. So what we can do now, we can open LX Appearance. And as you can see, we have our theme there. So we can go, for example, with Arc Dark. And for the icon theme, I'm going to go also with Arc and click Apply. Now we can close this and open up our file manager. So PCMan. And here we go. Here we have our file manager with the new theme and the icons. Now I notice also that I am missing the home directories. If you want to have those, we can close this up and we can install by typing in sudo xbps-install and xdg-utils and also xdg-user-dirs and hit enter. Accept the installation here. Now let's open up again PCMan. And you can see the directories are not there yet because we need to create them. So we can do this by typing in xdg-user-dirs-update and hit enter. Boom, and we have there our directories in the file manager. So this is how easy it is actually to install also packages here in Void. Now, all in all, I have to say I had still very little time with Void, but I really like this distribution. It's very light, it's very simple to configure, and the package system seems to be actually very solid. Now, I will keep using this now for a while, and maybe I can give you more full in detailed impressions once I am more accustomed with the system, but so far, so good in Void Linux. So if you try this out, let me know in the comments below what you think about it, or if you used already Void Linux and you really love it, let me know why you love it. And if you have any other question about the video, let me know also in the comments below. I will be more than happy to answer you as soon as I can. So there you go, guys. This is how I installed Void Linux. I really like this distribution. It's very light and very simple. If you already use Void Linux, let me know also what you think about it and why you like it so much compared to other distributions. I'm always interested to know also your opinions. Thank you for watching the video, guys. I hope you liked it. If you did, please hit the thumbs up and subs to the channel if you haven't already. Subs always helps us out. And if you want to support the channel, you can do so by visiting our Patreon website, or you can donate via PayPal to our website as well. Thank you so much for watching the video, guys, and I'll see you very soon in the next one.